In a world filled with Bigfoot podcasts, where believers and skeptics clash, one podcast stands tall, ready to separate fact from fiction. Welcome to That Bigfoot Podcast. Brian and Wayne are here to call out the hoaxers, shoot down the myths, and weed through the mountain of red circle squatches. There is no Bigfoot Kool-Aid drinking going on here. We're not here to blindly believe, but to uncover the truth about the legendary creature that has captivated the world for centuries. Each week, we'll dive deep into the evidence and share jaw-dropping insights that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about Bigfoot. So, if you're tired of the same old stories and want a podcast that separates fact from fiction, join us on That Bigfoot Podcast. Get ready for a wild ride through the mysterious world of Bigfoot. Strap in, skeptics and believers alike, because That Bigfoot Podcast is about to blow your mind. Don't miss out. Like, subscribe, and comment now, and let's uncover the truth together. That Bigfoot Podcast, where the bullshit ends and the hunt for truth begins.
And we are live. We are nothing if not punctual around here at the Paranormal World Production Studios. Thank everybody for being here. First and foremost, oh, Wayne's doing hearts. That is so cool.
You can do it too.
Yeah, let me see if I can do it. No, my heart looks...
Your heart looks like a pumpkin, honey. Here.
Yeah, well, my heart is cold and dead. That's probably a circle. Yes, I'm very heartless, and it's like a red circle around my heart. So, Wayne, what's up, man? What's going on?
How you doing, buddy? I am looking forward to this. Happy to be talking about your 500. That's very impressive, guy. That's awesome. Congratulations.
I would pat myself on the back. Oh, I should go ahead and do that. Tiffany, what's going on with you?
Not much. I can copy what Wayne says. Happy to be here and happy to be celebrating with you. You are where I began, so that's an honor.
I tell you, it is so funny to me that we're talking about the 500th episode of Sasquatch Odyssey on That Bigfoot Podcast Live. I never thought this show would happen. I mean, it's one of the many amazing things we'll talk about that have come out of doing the Sasquatch Odyssey podcast. We're at this point, we're 500, and I think I posted the 503rd episode that will drop tomorrow on the show. So 500 happened while I was actually traveling. I was out of town. I was out west doing some things in undisclosed areas with undisclosed people. And it was just one of those things that when I did the episode, I was like, man, it just happened so fast. It seems like yesterday I started the show.
He was shooting a porn, y'all. That's what he was doing. With the undisclosed thing, undisclosed location.
Yes, undisclosed location with undisclosed people doing undisclosed things that we cannot talk about, at least for a couple of months. We'll talk about it when it comes out. I want to take a second to say hello to everybody. It's been so long since I've done a live. I don't even remember how to do it, but we've got about 30 people piling in here. So I want to say hello to everybody that's in the chat. Charlotte J, first and foremost. Hello, my friend. Ristel, Chris Blaylock. We've got Sasquatch. Oh, that's me. BFF Bigfoot Research. That is, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that is my buddy from down south in Florida. Hello, my friend. Who else do we have in here? Let's see. Jimmy T. Oh, let's see. Jimmy T. I'm a poet and didn't know it. Who else we got in here? Matthew Maynard. Hello, sir. There is Paranormal World Productions. That is us. Who else did I see in here?
Mr. Tiffany's in there.
Yeah, Mr. Tiffany, what's going on, my friend? Haven't seen you in a month of Sundays. Tyler Paul, what's up, my friend? Say hello to Brian and Wayne and Tiffany. Tyler, say hello to Tiffany, damn it. She's here. Little Matt, I'm not sure who you are. Is Big Matt in the house? I'm not sure who that is. Patty Troy says hello. 500 is crazy. It does feel like you just started. Well, let me tell you, if you're the one producing those 500 episodes, it definitely does not feel like you just started. But it is a labor of love. I love it very much. And I saw Discovering Bigfoot in here, I believe. Yes, that is Logan. Hello, my friend. Thank you for the congratulations on the 500 episodes of the podcast. And, it's literally probably more than 500, to be quite honest, at this point, because there are some that have been behind paywalls in the past and other things. So it's probably a little bit more than that. But the point still stands that it is quite the milestone. I actually started looking around today and I thought, I've talked about this in the past about how many people, hey, we got mythical legends in the house, stayed up late for this. That is our buddy from across the pond. Daniel is up way too freaking late. Does your dad know you're up? I'm going to send Craig a text and tell him that you're still up, Daniel.
Daniel, what's up, buddy?
It's like 1 o'clock in the morning over there.
We won't tell.
No, we can't.
Don't tell.
I talked to him today. He was so excited about a couple of things that he called me about, and I got to see he and his dad today. I love those little phone calls we get every day. So, yeah, I was looking at, and I've talked about this before, like it's probably less than 1% of the world's population that actually does podcasting full time and makes a living doing it. It's a very small pond, right, to be swimming in. And I never in a million years thought that I would be at the point that I'm at. And it's literally because of everybody who's in the chat right now, everybody who's listening and will watch this at some point in time on YouTube and or listen to it on the podcast. It is one of those things that we couldn't do it without you. And it's kind of cliche to say that, but as podcasters, if you don't have anybody listening, you're talking to yourself, right? You're just doing a podcast for one, basically. And that's what it was like when I started the show. There was nobody listening. And I just kept at it. I kept putting the episodes out because I really did enjoy doing it. And I still enjoy doing it to this day. So I definitely want to get into some of that stuff for later on. I want to talk a little bit about some of the relationships and some of the things that have come out of the show. But I want to get into some of the moments of the show for you guys, for me, and for the folks that are in the audience and in the chat right now. This is a call-in show, so I hope people call in. That's definitely something we're going to do later on, is open up the phone lines. And there's nothing worse than doing a live show and nobody calls in. So hopefully there'll be at least a couple of you guys that are willing to call in and talk about what you like about the show, what you don't like. We'll talk about anything. We make no qualms about it here on That Bigfoot Podcast. It's not all love and smiles here. We talk about some of the things that people don't like about the show as well. Let me start and go around the horn with you guys. Let me start with ladies first here. Start with Tiffany and talk about some of the things that you've enjoyed about Sasquatch Odyssey. We were talking about it before we went live, and honestly, I would have never met you or Wayne had it not been for the show, because that's where we met ultimately, was you guys were guests on the podcast. And we've become not only friends, but family outside of those appearances on a Bigfoot podcast. So talk a little bit about what got you interested in Sasquatch Odyssey first. How did you discover the show, Tiffany? And then talk about some of the experiences, obviously, from coming on and some of the things that you've enjoyed the most about the show over the last few years.
Well, I scroll through podcasts. I listen to music until I'm just like, you listen to so many songs on podcasts when you're at work and you're just like, I don't want to hear this shit anymore. So then you start listening to podcasts. And I've always, you watch our episode, I've always had a fascination with it. I was drawn to yours based off of your logo, really dug the logo. So I started listening to it and I never stopped. So then it was your voice that I was listening to when I was working this awful toxic job, but it got me through my workday. So, and then Zach had his encounter here. So our episode 222 was my genesis. So I got to, talk to you. And then, as days, weeks, and months progressed, we became closer and started talking about, what I could do to help. And here I am. And it's just one of those things. And the show has evolved over the years. When you first started, you say it all the time, I didn't like the way I sounded. So the interviews have definitely, you're good at asking questions. It's what you did when you were a cop. So it's like second nature. But overall, as the years have progressed, it's just gotten better and better and better, in my opinion.
Oh, well, I thank you so much for that.
No, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I've said that I've made no qualms about it in the beginning. The audio quality was not great, as in with most podcasters. There are people that I help behind the scenes with their show now, and I tell them little secrets that I wish somebody had told me when I first started the show, and it immediately helps them with their audio. And that's one of the things that I've always struggled with. I guess I'm a little bit of I'm definitely a perfectionist when it comes to my work, and I've always constantly tried to improve every aspect of the show. And one of those was getting better equipment. One of those was working on the audio. One of them was editing. And then getting into the interviews with folks. I've tried to do a better job of asking the right questions at the right time, not talking as much, not repeating myself as much. There's plenty of people who email me because I repeat things over and over. But it's one of those things that we've talked about it before. Wayne and I've had these conversations off air, and I've even talked about it on the air. Every conversation is different because it's with a new person that I've never talked to before. So when I repeat things or talk about my past in law enforcement or whatever the case may be, the experiences I've had, it's because I'm talking to a new person that I've never had that conversation with. And it gets lost in translation for me because I get so engrossed in the conversation. It's the first time I'm having it with this person. I want to give them everything that I possibly can. And if it's relevant, I'm going to talk about it. And it gets a little redundant at times for people who listen to every episode. They're like, oh my God, here he goes again, talking about Todd standing in Canada, or he's talking about when he was a cop, or whatever the case may be. But if you look past that and just get into the meat and potatoes of the interaction with the person, that's what I've really tried to do more than anything, is connect with people on a different level. And I want to get into some of that later on and talk a little bit about some of those relationships and how that doesn't necessarily happen on every single podcast, because I've talked to so many people just over the last 12 months that have had so many negative experiences with other shows. And we're not going to call anybody out. It's not going to be one of those kind of sessions. But I do want to talk about that because to me, it's important, is the relationships that you build with the people that have come on the show. Wayne, what about you, man? How did you find Sasquatch Odyssey? Did I find you? Because I do remember calling you up or sending you an email and asking you to come on the show. Were you listening to the show then? And how did you find the experience when you came on the show and we did your interview, and then obviously what's happened afterwards?
Well, a lot of people don't know this, and I don't even know if you know all of this, Brian, because I've never really talked about it. But before I got, teamed up with you, I was doing my thing with Manimal Research. I did the YouTube channel. And right before I got with you, I started a podcast. It wasn't a YouTube one. It was with a guy who is not very popular with a lot of Bigfoot people. And that's one of the reasons I chose him to be my partner. Was he was very outspoken. He had a kind of a name, and he rubbed people the wrong way. And that was kind of what I was looking for. But he did not like you. We have talked about this. He did not think very highly of you at all. He told me a whole bunch of stuff, and I am guilty of listening. And I developed a not so great opinion of you based on what he was saying. And then I was given the opportunity to be in a movie called Bigfoot versus Yeti, Battle of the Beasts. Dr. Jeff Meldrum's in there, Cliff Brackman, a couple other people you may have heard of it are in there. So it's something I'm proud of. So I posted on Facebook about it, and you and I were in the same group, a couple of the same groups, and you saw it, and that's when you reached out to me, and I told this gentleman about it, and he's like, yeah, I don't know about him, man. I might stay away from him. Like, I don't know. So he and I kind of had a falling out a little bit. I reached out to you. I went on. I recorded that first episode, and I came away shaking my head. It's like, what the hell is he talking about? This is one of the coolest dudes I've ever freaking met in my entire life. That first interview, before I had ever spoken to him before, I had never talked to Brian in my life. I came away with him asking if he could come to the Squatch Out that I was going to have in a few months. He said he wanted to come to it. He offered to help me. With my podcast. He said my audio needed work. He offered to help me with all of that. This was long before he offered me the opportunity to take over Paranormal Odyssey. But he did all of that after knowing him for an hour. And I just thought, man, it's true. That old saying, you don't judge a book by its cover. Don't listen to other people. Make up your own mind about people, because, Brian, you were everything that this person told me. You're everything opposite of what this person told me. And everything is just blown up since that episode.
Well, I am glad that happened. I'm glad that you didn't listen to him. I'm glad you came on the show, because I've done it too. Everybody does that, right? You hear about, oh, that person's a horrible person. Yeah, I've heard it about people that I am good friends with in Bigfoot. I still hear it to this day. Some people have bad experiences with people, and I'm like, I just don't have that experience with these people. So it is one of those things that we're all guilty of. I think we all, on occasion, judge books by its cover, and I think we need to get past that. And I'm glad you did, man. It was one of the best things that ever happened to me. You and Tiffany both are amazing additions to this family. And what you guys have done with Paranormal Odyssey has blown me away and blown me out of the water. So I thank you both for giving me the opportunity to not be an asshole, I guess is the right word. I don't know. Everybody, it's funny. I get that from people all the time. They listen to the podcast and they have this preconceived notion about who you are or what you are in person. And then they meet you and they meet me and they're like, man, I didn't expect you to be that way. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm just a person, right? And I am the person that you hear on the show, this show, my show. If I'm a guest on another podcast, which I do quite a few, I'm the same person all the time. And that's just one of those things that I think it strikes people in different ways. But I mean, it happened to me the first time I met Bobo. The first thing Bobo said to me was, man, your voice don't match what I was expecting. I was like, well, what part doesn't match? He said, I expected you to be shorter.
What?
Okay. Well, there's that. I guess I sound shorter. I'm not sure how you sound short or tall, but yeah, you just never know what to expect with people. So I am so glad that you both came into my life. So many people I was looking through today. I didn't want to get sappy and go through and pull a bunch of stuff and play a bunch of clips and things that people have already heard from the show. But I got to looking back in the archives and I went back all the way to episode 1 of the show. And I started going through the episodes and I'm thinking to myself, the people that I've connected with, I still talk to some of these people to this day. Yeah. Occasionally I get text messages from people who are on episode 7 and 8 or 9 of the show. And it just blows me away that I still have those connections with people. I looked back and I had so many people on from locally. First show was a roadside crossing from right here in North Carolina. I had Kel on. He came on and talked about his roadside crossing that he had about 3 hours from here up at Medoc Mountain State Park. And then I got into episode 3, Bigfoot Hunts with Coyotes. It's still one of my favorite episodes ever. I quote Dave often because I tell you what, he was one of the most out there people. He was one of the first people that I ever interviewed that talked about possibly being affected by, I guess would be the word, or what he called zapped by infrasound. And Dave told a story about Bigfoot hunting with coyotes. That's why I named the episode Bigfoot Hunts with Coyotes. And I've since seen that, although I thought it was complete bullshit at the time, I've talked to so many people who have had similar experiences with Bigfoot having some sort of a symbiotic relationship with coyotes. And now I look back and think maybe Dave wasn't as crazy as I thought he was, right? So there's so many things. And then I look at episode 10, I had Jeff Meldrum, Dr. Jeff Meldrum on the show. And
let me interrupt you real quick, Brian. I want that to sink in with everybody out there. Episode 10, he was barely double digits, and he is reaching out to the biggest name in Bigfoot to get him to come on a show that no one had ever heard of because he's only 9 episodes in at that point. And the man, he reaches out to him. When I first got with Brian, you were 200 episodes in, something, I'm not sure. But I told you, one of my problems as a podcaster was I'm intimidated. I am intimidated by big names. And what you said to me just stuck out. I mean, it's like, why? You don't have to be. You're a person, they're a person. All they can say is no. Mm-hmm. And that resonated with me. I'm like, all he can say is no. All I have to do is reach out to these people and ask. But it shocks me that you had Meldrum on at 10, episode 10, and you had Les Stroud. We were talking before we went live, you, Tiffany, and I. You had Les Stroud on at episode 69. Dude, what the hell? How do you have the balls to reach out to these people, especially Meldrum at 10, when you're nobody? you were nobody in the community at that point.
Yeah, I was absolutely nobody. I'm still a nobody, just so everybody is clear on that. But Jeff Meldrum was one of the nicest people ever. I just reached out to him via email, and he called me up and said, yeah, let's schedule it. And then there he was. And it was so frustrating to me because I had no idea what I was doing as far as editing. And I over compressed that audio to the point it was unlistenable. You couldn't even listen to it. It was horrible. And thank God I've developed the skills that I have now that I was able to go back and remaster that. And I put it out again recently within the last probably 6 to 8 months. It was one of the episodes that I remastered. And now you can actually listen to it. And it sounds like a regular interview because he said some of the, I mean, it was an amazing interview. He's always an amazing interview, no matter what he's talking about or where he's at talking about whatever he's talking about. But yeah, it's been remastered. So if you guys want to listen to episode 10 of the show, you can go over and listen to and hear what Meldrum had to say. And it was so funny. I'll never forget. We got towards the end of the interview and we were still going. I had like 5 or 10 more questions. And he's like, I am so sorry. I've got to go. I've double booked myself and I've got another interview starting in like 5 minutes. And he was just like cutting it out. So I had to go back and edit that in. And it seems pretty seamless now. But it's so funny to me because I now know Jeff, right? We've spoken together at conferences and I've sat around and had dinner with he and his wife. And it's just amazing. And it goes back to what you always talk about, Wayne, and what my friend Cliff has always talked about. Cliff Barrickman has always said, you know, Bigfoot is one of those things where your heroes can become your friends. And that's truly what's happened to me in this is so many people that I've looked up to for so long in Bigfoot and just as people in general and things that I enjoyed, the entertainment, whether it be on television or other podcasters and things like that, have just become friends to me. And it's one of those things that I cherish every single day. I know I'm one of the luckiest people on earth to be able to do what I love so much and then be able to build my friendships and relationships with people that I never thought. I mean, I was watching Cliff on Finding Bigfoot, 10, 12 years ago. And now he's writing the foreword to my new book. It's just so surreal, man. I can't even describe it. But to your point, Les Stroud was episode 68 of the show. It aired on October the 1st of 2021. So I was definitely still a fledgling when it comes to the podcasting. But, in all actuality, he was episode 68, but I started emailing him probably around episode 10. It took me over a year, almost a year and a half, to book Les to come on the show and do his interview because he's such a busy person. He's always busy. He's always got things going on. He's not only into Bigfoot, but he obviously does television. He's into video games and all the crazy things he's doing now. And oh, by the way, he travels almost constantly doing music. So it was very difficult to get him booked. He was one of the harder people to book. And then after that was Todd Standing, who had been on my list for quite a while. Eventually, after I had Les on and we talked about Todd at length during that episode, I had Todd on. He was somewhere in the 100s. I don't remember exactly what episode Todd was, but it just keeps going and going and going. And there's been such a transition with the show. I know everybody tunes in for hear the encounter stories and to hear the interviews, but I've tried things like story time. I wanted to get into telling stories because I love narrating stories and telling stories. So I started story time somewhere around episode 100 or so. I started doing those and I've done those continuously throughout. I've dropped them. And again, that eventually became a new podcast. Backwoods Horror Stories was born basically from Bigfoot story time on Sasquatch Odyssey. And that channel has, I looked today and it's like 15,000 subscribers on YouTube and people are enjoying those stories. So it's just one of those things that I've dabbled with and we're still tweaking the show. Fred from Alaska has made constant appearances. I had Fred on and interviewed him. I can't remember what episode it was, but it's been within the last 50 or 60 episodes of the show. I had Fred from Alaska on and I immediately just bonded with Fred and the stories he was telling from the First Nations and Native American perspective that we honestly don't get a whole lot of in Bigfoot. And he was telling some amazing stories. So I reached out to him after I had him on for his interview and I said, hey man, I would love to Oh, wait. Jermac says, I like Fred, yet I'm kind of getting tired of him. Sorry. Wah, wah. Well, there are so many people who send me emails every single week telling me how much they love Fred. So unfortunately, Fred is going to stay around, I think, at least for the near future. But yeah, I really wanted to highlight those stories because he has a huge channel. Don't get me wrong. His channel has, I think 17,000 subscribers on YouTube. So he's doing okay. But we have a big audience on Sasquatch Odyssey. And I was like, look, dude, I want people to listen to these stories. I think they're so important because they tend to be a little bit more out there. They tend to be a little bit more aggressive. And I think it's important that if those things are happening to people, it's important for us as podcasters to put that out there. So that's why I continue to focus on and share those stories from Fred. So there you have it. That's what's going on with Fred. And we're going to continue to do that. But over the years, we've continued to try to do different things, whether it be narrate stories or focus on like the Fred stories from. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. I'm getting distracted.
It's hard. It's hard running a show and talking at the same time, right? That's why I have Tiffany. Thank God.
I do a lot of, you'll see me during the show, and I swear to all of our past guests and future guests, I am paying attention. But you will see me look over more than I'm looking at you because I have a whole chat screen and people are talking and I'm trying to throw things up on the screen, and it's a lot.
It's awesome having Tiffany. I'm telling you, Brian, if you did more of these, you would have to have your own Tiffany because I'm not going to share her. She's mine.
Hey, is there anybody in chat? Raise your hand if you want to be my Tiffany.
But Tiffany is a godsend because I can focus on the guest. I can listen to the guest and have a conversation with them. And people have made the comment on Paranormal Odyssey, we'd like to hear Tiffany more because when she does talk, she makes great points and asks really good questions, but she's doing her job. She's answering the chat. She's watching. She's looking stuff up on the fly. If I've got a question, where is that place at? Before I even ask, she's looking it up. It's awesome. And when we started this, Brian, I'm sorry if I'm getting a little off topic, but when you and I become friends, you offered me the opportunity to take over Paranormal Odyssey. And I had done Manimal research for a while, and I had a co-host, and I had somebody that always helped me. And that's one of the things I said to you was it would be nice to have a producer, someone that sits there and helps me run the show. And we reached out. We had Lisa for a little while. Lisa was amazing. We still talked to her. We were talking to Lisa last night.
Yeah, she was texting some really cool stuff, some really cool audio that happened on a shoot that she was doing for a movie. So yeah, Lisa's still out there. Hello, Lisa, if you're listening, we love you.
Yeah, we absolutely love you, Lisa. Lisa and I became close for that 6 months or so that she was doing it, and Tiffany was a moderator. Yep. But Lisa is a TV producer, a movie producer. She is busy as hell, so she had to step away, and that allowed Tiffany to come in. And I can't tell you, I'm bragging on Tiffany. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Brian, but she makes my life so much easier on the show, and it's awesome. I love you, ma'am. She's become one of my best friends, and I'm so grateful for her.
Yes.
Oh, just keep bragging on Tiffany.
You're just gonna swell up my head. I'm gonna have to knock the wall down back here to be able to get out of my office. And
Troy says Miss T is the bee's knees.
No, yeah, well, sweet.
I'm just gonna put it out there. So is your barbecue, Troy. Your barbecue is the bee's knees, my friend.
Yes.
We ate that barbecue.
We ate his barbecue when we was up in Tennessee doing the Smoky Mountain Bigfoot conference, and it was really good, my friend. Excellent stuff.
So can I just say that those days of that conference was 3 of the best days of my life.
Oh my God!
With all of you guys, it was amazing. It was great. I'm sorry to keep interrupting you, Brian. Go ahead, buddy.
Just keep interrupting. You're a podcaster. You talk for a living. I'm okay with that, dude. I'm okay with it.
This show is all about you, but he's going to talk about me, and we're going to talk about Troy's barbecue.
No, and that's the thing. It's really not about me, and that's. I'm glad you said that, Tiffany, because that's one of the things I've always said about Sasquatch Odyssey. It is never about me. And that's one of the things I've tried to do. And I've been called out. People have called me out because when I talk too much on the episodes and I interrupt people and I try to tell my stories too much, people always bring me back to, it's not about you, dude. It's about the person that's on the show. And I think that's one of the things that has resonated over the years with people that have watched the show and listened to the show is I do make it all about the person that's on the show, and it is about the stories. It is the highlight for them. And I'm going to continue to try to do that from now on because that's really what it's all about on the show. We are trying new things. I mean, we talked about story time and some other things. Danny and I are working on something right now that I'm pretty excited about. He's taking a look at Bigfoot in pop culture, and he's putting together some episodes on, well, Bigfoot in pop culture. I just put it out there as that and kind of tease it that way. He's going to be making some appearances on the show, on the air, on his own. I'll be in the mix a little bit, but we're going to supplement here and there and put some of those shows out over the next couple of months. So you guys stay tuned. Danny's made appearances over here on That Bigfoot Podcast when Wayne has been otherwise indisposed, and people resonate with him. He has a different take on this. He's very skeptical, has a dual degree in sociology and psychology. So he knows people, he knows subject matter. And I'm really excited. I mean, he was going over the first 3 episodes that he's written out and going to produce here over the next couple of weeks. And I am stoked for you guys to hear it. So that's just one more thing that we're going to be working on to bring you some extra content here on Sasquatch or over on Sasquatch Odyssey. So something else to look forward to.
Well, it was good to hear Danny on there, and he is such a sweet soul. I could just eat him up. His personality and his sass is beyond the pale. I just absolutely forget.
Sass is a great word for Danny. I got to meet Danny for the first time at the conference.
Yeah.
And I had talked to him a little bit. Been associated with you, Brian, for a couple of years now. I've talked to Danny a little bit, but me actually laying eyes on him and meeting him in person was this at the Smoky Mountain Conference. And it felt like I'd known him forever.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he has that ability to make people feel that way, but I gave him a big hug, and it was just like talking to an old friend, like you and I, when we get together, we just cut up, and that's rare. You don't find that with anybody.
Well, when we all met in Tennessee, because I had not ever met you guys in person. Mm-hmm. I had not ever met Danny. And it was like we've known each other our whole life.
Yeah, we got North Carolina, Virginia, and Tennessee. I mean, we're not all sitting in the same town. We're in the southeast, but we're definitely not neighbors.
Yeah, and here's the thing about Danny: people don't realize we get to turn on the microphones and are the faces and the voices of the show, but Danny truly runs everything behind the scenes and makes sure that things go according to the way they're supposed to go as far as the business is concerned. And just what you see, if you come to a conference and you see all the merchandise that we've curated that we offer you guys, that's all him. I mean, everything is him. He's put his heart and soul into curating those things and bringing people as much quality merchandise as we can put out there. And again, like I said, just keeping everything running, keeping everybody paid behind the scenes and all the business things that go into what we do behind the scenes that I don't get into. It's not my thing. I turn on the microphone and just do what I do. Same thing for you guys. But everything behind the scenes is all Danny. So kudos to him and very much appreciated. We cannot talk about the show without talking about the series that we did back. It was around episode 300, 350 or so. Dogman Terror in the Woods.
Yes.
Everybody loved that. We made no qualms about it that Tiffany wrote Dogman Terror in the Woods specifically for Sasquatch Odyssey. It was a phenomenal 10-part series, and everybody fell in love with it. And I told Tiffany, I was like, why don't you turn this into a book? People would love to read this. I mean, me narrating it is one thing, but people like to have this in a book form. She was like, well, how would I publish it? And I was like, well, Hanger One Publishing would publish it for you.
Yeah.
She's like, really? And I was like, yeah. Well, why would they do that? Because I'm going to call Doug Hycheck and Alex and say, I want you to publish this book because it's freaking phenomenal. And they did. So if you guys are interested in Dogman Terror in the Woods, make sure you head over to Amazon, look it up, Dogman Terror in the Woods, look up Tiffany. You can find the book and get your copy of it today because it is phenomenal. And guess what? There's a 10-part series on the show. I think the final, I'm looking at the final chapter now. It was episode 352 was the final chapter that I read. But guess what? If you pick up the book, it's not the same ending that you hear on Sasquatch Odyssey. It's completely different. So go pick up the book, show Tiffany some love. You will not be disappointed. It is a phenomenal, phenomenal series. I've appreciated Daniel.
Yeah, and real quick, while she was doing the Terror in the Woods, she was also doing the Unfamiliars for Paranormal Odyssey at the exact same time. She was a busy lady. She was writing for me and then writing for Brian as well. She actually came on and helped narrate some of the Unfamiliars because I'm not a narrator. You guys, I'm sorry if y'all tried to listen to some of those episodes, but the story is great. And what was really cool is we kind of came up with the idea together. I told her I wanted a Bigfoot habituation type. And my grandpa was really important to me. His name was Hardy. I asked if the main character could be Hardy. And my grandpa Hardy was the sheriff of a small county in Tennessee. And she made him a retired sheriff from, I think, Tennessee. His name's Hardy. And she just ran with it. And that's also a book. So you've got Bigfoot Terror in the Woods and the Unfamiliars. She published them at the same time. So please check out both. They are equally fantastic.
Yeah, well, it was very special for me, especially writing the Unfamiliars, because I really wanted to cultivate your grandfather. I wanted to cultivate everything, every aspect, maybe his description is the first thing that I ask, because I don't know how I do it. I just sit down and I write it. I don't know. I don't outline. I just write. So I asked the description of him and I kind of had him in my head. So that just kind of carried on throughout the book. But if you go to TiffanySDuran.com, you can find me, all of our books, Paranormal Odyssey, all of that.
There you go. Tiffany is I would say she's not even a triple threat. She is a quadruple threat, folks. She's got it all.
She's amazing.
So, yeah, very much so. And so this is a call-in show, so I want to give people the opportunity to call in, but I want to get into this before we open up the phone lines and take some phone calls. We've talked about relationships. Obviously, you guys are two relationships that were built because of the show. I have tons of other relationships, but this is something that's come up recently. And I want to talk about this because I think it's important. There are other podcasts out there, believe it or not. I know it's weird, but I looked up the stats. I know, right? It's crazy. There's other podcasts. I looked up the stats today because I was really interested in how many podcasts there are. I looked up our rankings on our podcast, and I am so proud of what we've done on this network. There's not one podcast on this network, including your show, my show, the Basement Hangout, the Kentucky X-Files guys. Every single show that we host on this podcast network is in the top 1 to 3% of all podcasts in the world. And by the way, there's over 5 million active podcasts across the world today. 5 million, right? So we are in elite company. To say that you're in the 1 to 3%, Sasquatch Odyssey is in the top 0.5% of all podcasts in the world. And that has nothing to do with me. It has everything. It has everything to do with the people who come on and share their stories. And more importantly, everybody who subscribes, who listens to every episode, downloads every episode. We can't thank you enough. But back to the relationships. I had a guy on recently, Dylan. And Dylan reached out to me via email, and he was apprehensive about telling his story because he had some past experiences with other podcasters who shall remain unnamed, who basically baited him in. They wanted his story. They wanted him to come on and tell his story. And once they got the story, all other communication stopped. There was basically ghosted him. That's the word that I use, is ghosted. And he was a little bit upset about that because he told his story and connected with this podcaster based on the fact that he was going to be a part of this elite club that had seen a Sasquatch. And he just wanted to talk to people about his experiences and have this connection. And he came on the show and we had a great conversation. We talked about it. And hey, man, what's going on?
I was gonna say, is that him?
Perfect timing. And I don't mean to put you on Front Street, Dylan, but I kind of told you this because he and I have been texting over the last couple of days because I gave him my number and I said, dude, and I even said it on the episode. It airs tomorrow. So if you guys want to listen to Dylan's episode, make sure you check out Sasquatch Odyssey tomorrow. It drops at midnight, actually tonight. So you can listen to Dylan telling his story. But here's the thing about it. I told him, I said, look, dude, I will not ghost you. If I give you my number, I'm not going to leave you unread. I'm not going to just get your story out of you because that's what I'm seeking and that's what I need for content. And then I'm not going to leave you in the lurch because that's not what I do. Again, we've talked about it before. I still can communicate and talk to people that I interviewed, episode 2, 3, 4 of the show, because it's important to me to continue that kind of connection with people, because guess what they do? They text me when they get new encounters. They text me or they call me when they get new evidence. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm so glad that you're still in contact with me. I would probably be in contact with more people, but I've changed my number since I started the show. So if anybody that has my number or had my number, you can try to reach out to me. I'm not going to put I've thought about this before. And I think you might have talked me out of it, Wayne. I was at a point when I was so fed up with people talking shit about me. I was literally going to put my personal cell phone number out there for people to call me up and be able to have these kind of conversations, because I am that passionate about the show. And if you have a problem with the show, I'm the person you need to be talking to. Don't put it on social media. Don't put it on Apple Podcasts and leave us a horrible review. Just call me up and we'll have a conversation. That's the kind of guy I am, or try to be. So that's what I've tried to do with Dylan. He said, it's totally fine. I'm an open book. I appreciate it, man. And I've really enjoyed continuing to talk to him because that's important to me. I wanted him to know publicly and privately, I am not going to ghost you, dude, because I've had experiences I can't explain. I've seen things that I can't explain. There's so much that I would love to talk about right now from my recent project that I was involved in, but I'm under an NDA. I can't talk about it right now, but there's so many things that I connect to people like Dylan on a new level. And it's so important to me to continue that. So I said all that to say, is that something? I know you guys do a fantastic job about it. Every time I talk to you, Wayne, you've got some new friend that you're going to do new things with. And the genesis has been because they've come on your show and talked to you. So let me go to you first and talk about that. How important is that to you, and how have you seen that progress from you being a host of Paranormal Odyssey and the connections you've made to people? Is that something that you see grow? And is it something that you hear behind the scenes that is not always the case with other podcasters?
100%. One thing that I get, and Miss Chris Blaylock has mentioned it in this episode tonight. The reason she feels so at home with us is because we make her feel at home. She says that we make her feel like family. We at Paranormal Odyssey, we have a Discord. And if you become a member of our channel, you get the link to the Discord. We hang out. We talk all the time. We keep saying we're going to have a movie night. I don't know if we've been able to nail that down to figure out exactly how it's going to happen. We've had some pre-runs, some trial runs, but we're just a family. That's all it is. And it's not the same. Brian, it's so weird how things happen. You and I were talking earlier about another show that came from a show that got its start from another show. This guy would not be anything if it wasn't for this other show. He's not that good. We're not going to call names. He's not that good. He doesn't have the best voice. He doesn't ask the best questions. He's not. He would not be where he's at today if it weren't for the person that promoted him. And to hear the way that person treats people, we do the opposite. People feel like they can talk to us because we treat everyone with respect. I have so many friends, people that haven't been on the show. I've seen several of them in the chat tonight. Kevin is one of my best friends in the world. Kevin Jones. He's a member of Manimal Research. He has been on the show. It's like pulling teeth to get him to come on. But he's been on once. Jonathan Pulley is another police officer here in Tennessee that I met. He's never been on the show. Met him through Facebook. And there's 2 or 3 others that are escaping me right now. I don't know what it is. It's just we feel we're welcoming. We accept everyone. We don't ghost people. We don't leave people on red. I'm a father of a toddler. I'm very busy. I do my best to get back to everybody, but that's just the kind of people we are. I mean, we don't have huge heads, and I don't understand why some people do.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and I've seen it so many times with Bigfoot. I said it to Dylan, I think, on his episode. One of the things I've learned, and not everything has been roses. I've made relationships with people that I've met through Bigfoot. Wayne, some of them you and I have met together, and they turned out to be shitty people. And I think it's just one of those things that it's no matter what you're doing, whether you meet somebody on the street or at Walmart, or whether it's got to do with Bigfoot or not, they're just shitty people in the world. And that's what it is. And you have to take people where they are and understand that not everybody's going to be great. But by and large, the majority of the people I've met in the Bigfoot community have been absolutely phenomenal.
Yes.
Some of the greatest people ever. It is one of the biggest and most welcoming and loving communities I've ever been a part of. They have embraced us. They've embraced our shows, and they allow us to do what we do every day that we love so much. And we couldn't do it without you. So at the end of the day, that's what it's really all about. I want to take some calls. People have been asking for the number, so I'm going to put the banner up here. And before it gets too late, I want people to be able to call in, and we want to take some phone calls and talk about Sasquatch Odyssey, talk about your favorite moments, talk about this show, talk about Paranormal Odyssey. It's it's kind of free for all Friday on a Thursday. It doesn't necessarily have to be me. I'm not looking for praise here. I'm not looking for you to talk about the show ad nauseum, whatever you want to talk about, because ultimately, like everything else, this is pretty much about you guys. So I've got my phone on Do Not Disturb. So
You're killing me, bro.
We are professionals here. So I'm going to try to.
So relieved that you screwed up, because Wayne gives me so much shit.
Hold on. Who says I screwed up? You're not supposed to put that on Front Street. That happened before we hit play. I was here for that, but you guys, I sent you the wrong freaking link, and then I corrected it almost immediately because I texted you and said, I hope I sent you the right damn link. And I didn't, so I fixed it. You were like, I'm in somebody else's room. I don't know where I'm at, what I'm doing. So we fixed it quickly. So.
Hey, but I'm going to call it like I see it, because it's just how I am.
Well, it wouldn't be us if it wasn't on Front Street. So I take responsibility for sending you the wrong freaking link.
Are we getting any calls?
No, clearly we're not. I see.
Damn it, people.
There's something that is suspected spam from May the 17th here. So
just go with it. And let's take a.
Should I call back the spam? Should I call back the spam? I'm going to take a selfie.
I need a new long distance provider.
We're calling you about your extended car warranty. He's getting ready.
We've been trying to reach you about your extended car warranty. Would you like to switch from
Hapa Ding Dong
to Spectrum? Oh, wait, somebody called. I'm going to call you back. I don't know who you are, but somebody just called. I'm so excited. If you're a 661 number, I'm going to call you back. Let me put it out there. It is 909. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. They're not going to be able to hear you guys, but I'm going to call them back and they can hear me, because I am the most important person of the evening. No, I'm just kidding. Let's see. Oh boy. Replaying your call through what the fuck? Oh, well, whatever. Here we go. Somebody's calling, or I'm calling them. Hello. How's your mama name?
Hello, this is Chad.
Hey, Chad, what's going on, man? It's Brian. Tiffany and Wayne cannot hear you, and you cannot hear them, but you are live on the air with us, man. What's going on?
I'm going to make this real quick in regards to relationships. Your show, their show, That Bigfoot Podcast gets me through my day, gets me through so much. I'm in Yosemite right now on a job. I run my own business, and I'm looking at the mouth of the Yosemite, and I wanted to go up in those mountains so bad last night. But my wife told me if I do, I'll become a missing 411, and we just bought a house, and so she's not having it. But just wanted to say thank you guys so much, man. You guys mean a lot to me, and that's all I got.
Well, we appreciate you more than you know, Chad. You have meant a lot to this show and their show for a very long time. So thanks for everything, man. We love you and we appreciate you.
Yes.
Keep doing what you're doing, guys. Thanks.
All right, take care. That is what it's all about, folks. Chad has been on your show. He has shared some amazing things on your podcast. It is fantastic that those kind of relationships can come from a show like this, man. It's just amazing.
Chad has had people in tears on our shows. I mean, he's an amazing dude. He's a veteran, an Army vet, and when he came on and talked about what he went through in Katrina, like when his first big deployment was Hurricane Katrina relief, and just it was so heartbreaking. The things that he saw when he went into the nursing home. Oh, y'all got to go back and listen if you haven't heard it. We love you, Chad. You're awesome, dude.
Yeah, we love you. 100% love you, man.
All right, we've got other calls, so I'm going to call these people back.
Okay.
I don't know who this is, but we're gonna call them right now. You talk amongst yourselves.
Hey, Tiffany, how was your day?
And yes, Tyler, it is free to call. You do not have to call unless local rates will apply.
Don't cost you a thing.
Hello.
Hey, it's Brian. You're on the air with me and Tiffany and Wayne.
Hi, guys. How are you this evening?
We are great. They can't talk to you because of our setup. You can only talk to me. So we're in a one-on-one conversation, but they can hear everything you're saying. So.
Well, I just wanted to say that I love you guys so much. You don't even know. I am just so fascinated by the Bigfoot topic, and you guys are just awesome. I love you guys. I love listening to you. It is amazing. I am going to my first Bigfoot conference in Indiana, the first one in Indiana, and I am so excited to go, and it's just going to be awesome. So I want to say thank you, and I love you guys, and that's all I have to say.
Awesome. Thank you. We love you as well. Oh, it's so loved. I have no idea. I probably should have asked him. I am a shitty host tonight.
You've made it how many episodes?
Jesus, I don't care who it is. They know who they are. We know who they are.
We love you.
We love them anyway. No matter what the names are, we love them. I'm sorry. I'm going through my missed calls so I could try to find other ones here. Ooh, we've got quite a few. So I'm going to call this next one.
Yeah.
You guys are ready? You are ready? Here we go. I'm calling this person back. This is so much fun. This is one of my favorite things about doing a live call-in show.
It was Tara Smith, by the way.
Oh, I got to hit another phone. I got to hit another button. Sorry. Here we go.
Tara Smith.
Hello? Hello?
Hello.
Hey, who are we talking to?
Hey, it's Logan. How's it going?
Hey, man, it's Brian. You're on with me, Tiffany, and Wayne live. They can't talk to you, but they can hear you. So everybody else can hear you, man. What's going on?
I want to say congrats on the 500. And, I think your show is the most well-rounded show out there. And I've been a listener for years now. And, honestly, it helped energize me in my own research. Like, I love just going for a walk and listening to your shows, and it gets me more motivated to do stuff at night when I'm doing my own stuff. So it's all around good. You guys do a great job.
We definitely appreciate it, Logan. Thank you so much, man, for calling in. I appreciate it much. I'm gonna give Logan a shout out really quickly. If you guys have listened to the show for any amount of time, Logan's been on a couple of times. He is actually the mind behind the new live cameras that are up at Tide Standing's Radium BC research area. And he sent me some really cool video.
Yes.
I haven't asked him if I could share it, but I probably should do that. I'll send him a text or give him a call and see if I can share that with you guys. But they caught some really cool video of something being thrown at one of the campers. It's a rock being thrown out of the woods at the camper that he caught on these live cameras. So if you guys are into that kind of thing and you want to check that out, you can look up Discovering Bigfoot in your app store, whether you're on Apple or Android, and you can see them live. If you've ever wanted to check out the Radium area and check out the Radium, I'd like to apologize on behalf of Ontario Sasquatch and the Bigfoot fart. Sorry.
I love you, Steve. Thank you, buddy.
Yes, thank you, Steve. But yes, back to the seriousness. If you want to check out Discovering Bigfoot, the app, you can check that out. It is live. Yes. They were down for a while because of some pretty severe wildfires that were going on up in that area that were threatening the Radium camp. But fortunately, I think those have been extinguished and everything is back on track. So you can check out those cameras if you want, and you can see it live, man. It's one of those cool things that I got to go up there last October and spend 7 days out in the woods there. It's a beautiful place. It's a phenomenal place. Had some really cool experiences that I will never, ever forget. And that's the next best thing. If you can't make it up there and do an actual full expedition in that area, you could definitely check out the cameras and kind of live it vicariously through them. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what else to say, guys. I am so humbled by the amazing support that we all experience that allows us to do what we do every day. I get to do what I love, and I can't thank you guys enough. Everybody who listens to the show, everybody who supports us, everybody on our Patreon, everybody who just listens to the podcast. I mean, it's truly humbling, and it's an honor to get to do what we do. I love it. It's one of the best things I've ever done for myself, was taking the leap of leaving the job that was shitty behind, the thing I hated doing the most in my life, traveling 2 hours back and forth to work every day and spending so much time working for somebody else. And now I'm able to do that for myself. It is one of the most amazing experiences of my life. And it's honestly because of all of you. I mean, I could do this show every day and I could record all these episodes and put them out there, but if nobody's listening, ain't nothing happening, right? So you guys make it happen. All the support is not unnoticed. It is one of the things that I love the most about this community. You guys support us wholeheartedly, and I cannot thank you enough. Let me go around before we get out of here. Tiffany, do you have any last words for everybody, whether it's about this show or your show, what you guys have coming up, anything you want to say to the people?
Yes. We feel for you guys how you feel for us. And I've said it on our show before, we can just be having the shittiest day. And we can sign in to do our show. And it is a complete rejuvenation for our demeanor, our mind, our everything. And you guys are not, the people that we have on to share their encounters, whether it be paranormal or cryptid or whatever, you're not just your encounters. You are people behind the scenes. Behind that encounter, you are people with feelings, and that is how we treat you. And we love you all. I mean, we wouldn't be able to do what we do without you. And I'm humbled too. I'm like, wow, all these people are like, we love you. We think you're great. We love your show. And I'm just like, oh, I just think it's sweet.
Wayne, as is tradition on That Bigfoot Podcast, my friend, fittingly, you get the last word on the show.
Guys, I just want to echo everything that Tiffany said and Brian, what Brian said, because it is the absolute truth. You can't have a podcast without people listening. No matter how good your show is, if people don't tune in, you're not going to last long. You're not going to be anything. And it's because of you guys. Tiffany and I can speak together about our show, Paranormal Odyssey, and just the small community that we have built. You people come together, you send in super stickers for like money, just like little small amounts and stuff, and it adds up. And you guys, y'all mean the world to us. You really do. We love everything about you guys. And Brian's not just saying it. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for y'all. That's the absolute God's honest truth. We love you guys. We thank you so much. Please rate and review the show. I know you can't do that on YouTube, so hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so. Comment. Please comment. That helps out as well. But as far as the podcast, send in your rating, your reviews, and all of that good stuff. Until we talk to y'all again, y'all take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Bye.
Bye.